Hey, what's up everyone? Paul from Grindhouse Funhouse. As you can see, I am in Toronto right now. I decided to come on a whim to go see one of my favorite band, Failure, last night at the Velvet Underground, and it was fucking amazing. And here's a little excerpt right now. And you know what? I decided to stick around for another day and do a vinyl quest, if you will. Go to as many record stores as I can here in Toronto, and you'll see the result right after I finish this thought right now. So yeah, that was my 3-day trip to Toronto at the end of June. It had been a few years since I last visited the Queen City. It only took one of my all-time favorite bands, Failure, to get me to go back there. It was one hell of a show, probably one of my favorites of all the ones I've been to over the years. They were on tour to promote their latest album last year, Wild Type Droid, which is mwah! So Failure was on the first night I was there. I stayed 2 more days, knowing that one of those days would be about visiting as many record stores as I could, which ended up being 9 of them. Only 2 Rotate This and Pandemonium, where all of my vinyl soundtracks purchases occurred. 15 soundtracks in all. It's a mix of Varese Sarabande, which you know that my love runs deep. This amazing record label. Some random purchases, and some that were actually on my want list and found for decent prices. So, all right, I'll start it up with the vinyl soundtracks I found at Pandemonium. I got 5 of them. The first one being Emmanuel, right there, classic 70s porn movie. There might be a little nip action here I might have to hide, but who cares? You're not offended by nips, are you? They're beautiful. So yeah, Emmanuel, Sylvia Christel being the star. I don't know how many of them. I'm sure maybe like 4 or 5. I will admit that I've seen them all in my tender youth, during my, the phase where I became a man, But yeah, I was curious to see what it would sound like, and it is very 70s. Obviously, it's a nice purchases to have in my collection right there. Emmanuel. Up next will be how many? I got 3 Varese Sarabande titles. First one being Jagged Edged with Glenn Close, Jeff Bridges. Music by John Barry. This is written by Joe Hesterhouse, who wrote Basic Instinct as one. But yeah, one of those 80s thrillers, with a sexual component in it. And yeah, there you go, Jagged Edge. Then I got a movie I did not know existed, which came out in 1987. It is Off Limits, starring Willem Dafoe and Gregory Hines. The music is by is it by James Newton Howard? So yeah, there you go. Anybody seen this movie? Do you know what it's about? Is it any good? I don't know. This was a blind buy because of the Varese Sarabande right here. Every time I see it, I buy it. And then I know of this movie. I've seen it many a times. This and its sequel, and it is Effects, starring Brian Brown, Brian Dennehy. The 2 Brians is in this. The music is by Bill Conti. There you go, Effects right here. And this is on the label Jackal Records, which is the Canadian equivalent of Varese Sarabande here. Basically, I think maybe like a dozen titles they release of Varese Sarabande here in Canada. So there you go, Effects right here. And finally, from the titles I've picked up at Pandemonium, it is an Ennio Morricone title. It is Sahara. It is a Canon film, one of the early movies of Brooke Shields, and can't say I've seen it. It is a period piece. I believe it's from the, I want to say the 20s, maybe, possibly. But look at this cover, so beautiful. And then is Ennio Morricone, and Pandemonium had a holdback of Ennio Morricone, like just literally just going through all. I think you've seen it at the beginning of the video when I showed the store, and yeah, I picked this up, and it's Ennio. It's it's good. It's good. If you're planning a trip to Toronto, any and all vinyl soundtrack lovers out there must stop at Rotate This. Their soundtrack section was pretty damn sweet on that day, and I'm sure every day I spent way more money than I intended to while there, but hey, I was on vacation. That's how I justified it. So I'll start with the random purchases. I even kept the bag. Look at this beautiful bag, paper bag right here. So I will pull them out. The first soundtrack I got was The Stuntman. It is directed by Richard Rush. Peter O'Toole, Steve Railsback, and Barbara Hershey is in this. I know of this movie. I own this movie. I have yet to see this movie. The music is by Dominique Frontière. So there you go, the stuntman. The next one, I have seen this movie. It is a classic horror movie. It is Invasions of the Body Snatchers, directed by Philip Kaufman, starring Donald Sutherland, Leonard Nimoy. Who did the music for this? I will tell you. The music was done by Denis Zetlin, which is a composer I have not ever heard of before, or perhaps I have, but the name doesn't pop out. But look at this right here. It is pretty sweet. Up next, this is my second Terror Vision title in my collection. The first one being Freddy's Nightmare. And this is for Wes Craven's The People Under the Stairs. This was an RSD release back in 2021, I believe, last year. And yeah, I will show you the gatefold, the inside right here, and the back. Can you believe this is one of those that I've yet to see, but it will be on my Halloween 31 Days of Horror Challenge, or whatever you want to call it, this coming October. So, you know, it's nice to know I still have some Wes Craven movies I have yet to see. The vinyl, I can show you here, the jacket right here. It has a color, a variant of some kind. Look at that right here. And the music is by... Who did this music? I will tell you who did this music. The music is by Don Peake. Don Peake did this. The only qualm I have, and many people have brought this up, is that this is the only vinyl in my 350 plus soundtracks I have in my collection right here that is, I would say, oversized. The jacket is oversized. It will not fit in any, look at this right here. Why Terror Vision? Why? Look. It goes over like this. I won't be able to put a Japanese sleeves on it, cover it. It just, as they say in French, ça me gosse. Ça me gosse. It bothers me that why is it bigger than every other vinyl in my collection? I know it's a little picky, but it's what we do. Collectors are very picky people. So yeah, I don't understand why, but and the music was just okay. And by the way, this was being in the bin where there was like 4 or 5 copies, and they were just trying to pawn them off to people. I only paid $20 for this, and I believe it was like at least $45-$50 when this came out. So there you go. All right, up next will be the Varese Sarabande titles I managed to procure at Rotate This. First one being Man on Fire, Tony Scott movie that I've yet to see. Is it a Tony Scott movie? It is not. It is an Eli Churaki movie. I don't know who that person is, but Danny Aiello is in this. Scott Glenn, obviously. Joe Pesci. Joe Pesci is in Man on Fire. I did not know this. And the music is by John Scott. So there you go. A movie I will have to check out now because, you know, I got the soundtrack. And then some Sword and Sandal movie from the early 80s, and it is The Sword and Sorcerer. Look at this cover right here. It is bananas. It is bonkers. Sword and Sandal movies is not my jam. I can't say that I enjoy them, but you know, there's people out there that do. Music is composed by David Whittaker, another composer I've never heard of, but you know, the soundtrack itself, the score was pretty damn good. Then I had the first one in my collection, so I was glad to find it in the bin I was going through, and it is for The Fly 2. Christopher Young did the score for this one. First one was done by Howard Shore, you know. So yeah, the sequel to a classic David Cronenberg movie I have not yet seen, but plan to. So there you go, The Fly 2. And now I'm on to the titles that were on my want list, and or composers that anytime I see the name of them at any point in a bin, I will buy. And first one being Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and Alan Silvestri did the music. Anytime I find an Alan Silvestri score that is not in my collection, I will pick it up. And this one is right in that sweet spot of his, between Back to the Future and did Predator and Judgment Night and so many other movies. Ricochet, I love Ricochet, But yeah, Who Framed Roger Rabbit right here. Being a big 80s action movie fan and of Mr. Chuck Norris, I was very, very surprised to find this in the bin, and it is for the Delta Force. This is so fucking cool. Directed by Menahem Golan, one half of the Cannon group. So it's right here, the Delta Force. The score isn't nothing to blow your head off over, but Alan Silvestri also did the score, but it's I feel like one of his lesser score, not one that sticks in the ear. And finally, one of my, I'd say, top 3 Jerry Goldsmith. It is for First Blood, Rambo, Sylvester Stallone. This came out in 1982, directed by Ted Kotcheff. I think this became one of my favorite Jerry Goldsmith score when Ted Kotcheff was at Fantasia, I believe was it 2-3 years ago, and they were honoring him with a Lifetime Achievement Award. Actually filmed that thing, the award itself. The video is on the channel you are watching right now if you're so curious to see. But before he came on, they pumped in the soundtrack over the speakers, and for some reason that really stuck in my ear. And since then I was trying to find the score because it's pretty rare to find in the wild. But yeah, I was very happy to pay, what was it, like $40 for this? It's a pretty fucking sweet deal for First Blood. The other 2, I'd say, Jerry Goldsmith soundtracks I love would be for Total Recall and Explorers. I have a fondness for the movie Explorer and its score. So yeah, First Blood. And if you buy First Blood, you must buy First Blood Part 2 Rambo, which was also in the bin, and another Jerry Goldsmith score, obviously. It's in the same vein as the first one, though it's more more action-driven, I would say, than the first one. And there's even a song by one Frank Stallone right here. If there was a Sylvester Stallone movie in the 80s, Frank Stallone was not far behind with a theme song right here. So yeah, man, Rambo First Blood Part 2. So yeah, there you go.
The strength of our nation belongs to us all.
Go visit all my socials at Grindhouse Funhouse. In the comment section below, let me know what is your favorite Toronto record store. Maybe it's one I didn't get a chance to visit or wasn't aware of that I could check out next time I'll be there. More vinyl soundtrack related videos coming up soon, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching, and I'll say to you, ciao bye for now.